Bernina Club. Bernina Club from home. Yeah. Good morning, and today we're going to talk about the Bernina walking foot. But, first, obviously, it is very snowy outside. And in Oklahoma, of course, that means tomorrow will be perfectly fine. But, we have other things on our schedule. So I went ahead and I'm going to record Bernina Club for you today. So let's get over to my little PowerPoint here. I did want to talk about Bloom and Grow a little bit. That's going to be Saturdays, I believe, starting this Saturday, assuming weather permits. We will be doing this wonderful serger quilt by Amanda Murphy. I suggest strongly that you sign up if you have a serger, if you want to participate. In other classes, we do have beginning tatting with Gina Butler. If you've never done tatting, it is a wonderful, wonderful hobby. It is not very expensive, and you make the most lovely lace. Just gorgeous work. And anyway, it will be Wednesday, February 5th. The class is only $10 with the kit. That's the kit fee itself. And anyway, Gina is just a genius when it comes to tatting, and she is an incredibly patient teacher, and I strongly recommend taking her class. The Tool Tote with Marilyn Carper. Of course, this pattern has been Marilynized, and you will not have her instructions unless you take her class, which is Thursday, February 6th from 9:30 to 5. We also have Marilyn teaching the Out to Lunch, Wednesday, February 26th. This is a by Annie pattern that comes together really nicely. You can use it as a lunch tote, obviously, or as your purse. It makes a lovely bag to carry around. And then I am teaching my Happy Place starting January 6th from 10 to 1, block of the month. So it'll be Thursdays, one Thursday a month. It's $149. It's going to go probably 6 or 7 months. The instructions say 13, but some of those are really, 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 really short lessons, like not even 3 hours. So just bear with me. You will get all the instructions. Comes with all of the embroidery files, the quilt files, etc. And there are a lot of variations that we're going to discuss with this quilt. It doesn't have to look like the one in the picture. The one in the picture really reminds me of our first embroidery machine, the Deco 500. This is very much that aesthetic, and for me, it's some warm fuzzies. But I understand if it's hard to visualize this in different colors, but be looking for more pictures as time goes on. In March, we're going to have a special event with Barbara Goldcorn. We are flying her in to do a 2-day class for L890 sergers. If you don't have an L890, we can help you with that. We can also loan you one for these 2 days. So, again, March 7th and 8th, it's $120, and you will be taking the class on this Textured Elegance belt loop pillow, which I know the picture is really terrible, and I apologize for that, but there is a lot going on. There is decorative cover stitching, ruffling, decorative chain stitch, shearing. There's just all kinds of things happening on this pillow, and it's not because we need a billion decorative pillows in our life. It is so that we can learn these techniques in a way that, looks nice, and we have a thing at the end, and we can think about how we're going to apply it to other projects. Excuse me, my throat is really dry. Probably because it's snowing outside. Anyway, trunk show March 6th. The time for that is to be determined, but the trunk show itself is free, so I really strongly recommend coming and learning about Barbara's love of sergers and overlockers, and it's going to be really good. I always enjoy her classes at Bernina University, and I think you'll enjoy having some time with her as well. So, let's walk. The 3-soled walking foot with seam guide number 50 The walking foot, it's designed to feed fabrics that don't ordinarily move easily under the presser foot. Not just quilts, but of course, quilts. Quilts have a lot of layers. They can have more than three. They usually don't. Um, but if you are quilting a quilt inside of a quilt, so if you're using an old quilt as batting, you have 3 layers in the middle. But I digress. Your top, backing, and batting in the middle need to all stay together and not scoot and squitch and end up with a big wrinkle, because unpicking quilting is super no fun. But this foot can be used for a lot of different things. Pile fabrics like velvet, velveteen, corduroy, toweling, chenille, things that like to crawl. Slippery fabric, satin, sateen, silk, chiffon, sticky things like vinyl, rubber, backed decor fabric, leather, bonded material like cork. Bulky fabric like fleece, fur, hand-woven, hand knits. Yeah. Speaking of knits, ribbing, sweatshirt, fleece, terry, spandex, all of those things, if you're sewing them on your machine, it makes a huge difference. Layers of fabric, like quilt sandwiches. Again, if you're lining a jacket, you want to use this on the shoulders where you attach the lining so it doesn't slip around. If you're attaching ruffles, makes a huge difference. And of course, matching patterns like plaids and stripes. Sometimes those are only like a tiny thread of the same color that you are lining up. It's so much easier with the walking foot. The walking foot itself, they were invented around 1920. They were not invented by the Singer Company or Singer, Mr. Singer. They were invented by someone else. The first patent for one is around 1920, and then, Singer has one 1935. So that's something to keep in mind. Antique and vintage sewing instructions will refer to it as a plaid matcher, especially if you're using like Kenmore or even older Kenmore. Franklin was the Kenmore company before Sears Roebuck got involved, when it was just Roebuck, I think. And walking feet or a walking foot was considered an industrial machine because they were made that way. They were made with a foot that walked. Now we refer to this detachable presser foot as the walking foot. So that's just something to keep in mind if you have a vintage sewing machine collection and you're wanting to collect all the things for every machine. You might be looking for a plaid matcher instead of a walking foot. Excuse me. It might also be made by the Geist company instead of whatever company made your machine. It's just not every company made their own presser feet, so keep that in mind. Speaking of, here is the Singer Penguin walking presser foot. As you can see, the way it worked is the bottom broke into 2 pieces and it would walk like a person. It would, they move back and forth independently. It really is kind of a genius little walking foot there. I mean, it's called the Penguin because that's what it looks like, and that's how it walks. It walks like a penguin. This is real. I think the place you see it the most is with featherweights and featherweight groups. These presser feet can run you the same price as a Bernina 475 patchwork edition machine. The cheapest one I saw actually for sale right now is $2,700. They can go for more than that. It's kind of wild. But like I said, the earliest ones would be from 1935. I believe they made them through the mid to late 1950s, but there's not a lot of them around. I think part of that is because when people hand down their machines, when they are gone, the family members get the machine itself and not necessarily the tools and supplies that went with it. So that's something to keep in mind when you are getting stuff like that organized, is to have a list with the machine of all of the items. It's also good for insurance purposes. But anyway, we don't need the penguin presser foot. We have the Bernina walking foot. So Bernina began making our own walking foot specific to our machines in the 1980s. This is the original packaging right here, and yes, that is the original price, $39.98. Can you believe that? The walking foot is one of the more expensive attachments. I would not say the most expensive, because it's not, but it is absolutely worth it, and I use it in almost every project. You can, like I said, get away without it, but I don't know. I wouldn't. The Bernina walking foot here, the original one, is made for 4mm wide feed dogs. It has a hard rubber grip feed dog or feed dog set on the foot itself, which move in opposition to the feed dogs on the machine, with that little mechanical doodah on the side, that fork that's sticking out above the sole there. That goes on your needle screw so that it moves. Like I said, it makes the feed dogs on the walking foot move in opposition, so they come down and kind of pinch your fabric and help it walk. There are no extra attachments for this original one. It just has this lovely case that looks like a mouse for an Apple computer from the same era. They're always very stylish, very stylish. That's one of the things Bernina is so good at, but it does lead to some dated items. I think it's really cute though. Excuse me. If you have a vintage Bernina, you're going to want to add a walking foot to it. Check your screw. A lot of us still have our vintage Berninas. A lot of us have picked up vintage Berninas just because we love Bernina so much. Now, you need to look at the screw for your needle to make sure it's the correct one for a walking foot, because as I said, they did not put, we did not have a walking foot until the 1980s. So if you have a Bernina 830 Record, for example, which was made in the 70s through the early 1980s, you might need to update that needle clamp screw. That black one on the top is the proper one for using a walking foot. The fork of the walking foot on the silver one, as you can see, it's shorter. The fork sits right on top of that screw and unscrews it as you're sewing. So that's not great. Your needle will, come out, and it's just bad news. We can do upgrades to older machines. If we don't have one of those needle clamps in stock, we also can replace the entire needle bar, which on some machines that have been used a whole lot that are 50 years old, sometimes it's a good idea. But anyway, it's usually, right around $100. So it's something to think about if that's what you would like. I like to take my 830 Record on retreats because it has a table that is a folding table that's like lightweight, and it's easy for me to take at different places. So I definitely have this, the black screw. I updated the needle bar on mine to be the right one for the old walking foot. Our new walking foot, the 3-sole walking foot, has 3 interchangeable soles. There was a little awkward period where we had 2 soles, and if that is the walking foot you have, I can get you the third one, which is the edge stitch foot. It has a 5mm width for your zigzag or other stitches, and it does work very nicely on machines that do a 9mm wide stitch. You just can't stitch that wide with the foot. Why is it called a 3-sole walking foot? Well, because we have 3 soles, 3 options. We have closed toe, which is going to be just like your number 1 or 0 reverse pattern foot. We have open toe, which is kind of like your number 20. There's nothing in the way, so you can see where exactly your needle is falling, or where you are stitching. It's really nice for decorative stitches and that sort of thing. And then we have the edge stitch foot or stitch in the ditch foot. That is the third one, the farthest right on my screen as I'm looking at it. It has a guide in the middle, and if you stitch with your needle in the center position, it is going to go right down the ditch, which is the groove that the seam makes in the fabric, is what we're referring to when we say ditch. If you want a little bit over, anytime I stitch in the ditch, I always do one needle position right or left, so that I'm not in a position where I'm cutting anything on accident. I've done that before, but I digress. It is a great foot for those things. So anyway, let's take a quick look at our presser feet here. And here is the new one. We'll get to that one in just a minute. So here is my original older one. Like I said, it looks like a mouse from like an Apple IIe. Real ones will always have like part numbers and things embossed. But so this is, like I said, this is the original one, the older one. They were really branded with the coloration and everything of the 1130 in mind. But like I said, they came out when the 930 was available. So this one probably needs a little oil. It's a little sticky, but she's getting old, you know, just leave her alone. When you put these on an older machine, you might need to make a bigger scooping motion after you get this on the screw bar. And if you can't quite get it on there, you might need to drop your feed dogs. So keep that in mind. We'll just put her back in her little box. So the new style, and this is a red special edition. You already saw it, but right here. So it does say all of the ones that you're going to want to use are going to say Bernina on them right here. The generic feet are harder to get on the machine. It has to do with the shape of the top here. Which, you know, I hate to be like, don't ever, it does make a difference. The one that is not made by Bernina is made out of other materials, and it's made to be, you know, inexpensive. The Bernina walking feet, the genuine, I can replace almost every part of this. So unless you run it over with a car, I can probably fix it for you. To change our sole, which is this part right here, this screw, I just gently loosen, maybe like 3 or 4. There we go. And what happens is these forks widen out, and then I can remove the sole. This is that edge stitch or stitch in the ditch sole that I was talking about. Your needle would be right here, right behind that sole. So I just take this, put it right here. I like to line up the 2 holes with the 2 doodahs on that side. Put it right on there. And tighten it right up. And now I am ready to sew anything at any speed I want, as fast as the machine can go. And this won't pop off. It's not going to break. Nothing's going to go wrong. If you have a newer machine that has dual feed, this might get in the way of your dual feed if you have an older walking foot. We can help you with that. We might need to trade you out for a different walking foot. They do have a different shape. If yours came with 2 soles instead of 3, that's something to look at. Sometimes people don't ever use the seam guide, but this bracket works with these here. These are 4 inches long, so you can be 4 inches away from your needle. But I usually set this on my grid table and measure and then tighten my screw. Excuse me. I've been talking a little while. Ooh. But that way I can be stitching along and follow a line on the side here, which is a really great way to grid quilt or to hem your drapes. I don't know if you've like seen the prices of custom drapes lately, but it might be worth doing. I mean, I took some and like made them half as long because I think the like to the floor thing is a little silly when your windows are really small. So I was able to make twice as many curtains out of, you know, with just a small amount of effort, which was really nice. Okay. Da-da-da, da-da-da. Da-da. Oh. So, the regular one is white. I have had a lot of customers who really hate red. Well, that's okay. You can still get the white version. Excuse me. That is kind of our classic color. And then we have the special edition red, which I think is really cool. And I hope that they make more colors. I think it's a lot of fun. So, a pro tip. When you are sewing plaids or stripes, even in your quilts, and you really need those lines to line up, use some Wonder Tape instead of pens. Pens make these little hills no matter what you do, and if it is one of those plaids where there is a single thread that is a specific color that you need to line up, especially like on this shirt, it would be really obvious. And when you are making clothes, you really want the front and the shoulders especially to match. It's the other parts of the shirt don't make as big of a difference as the button placket and the shoulders. That's what everybody looks at. That's what everybody sees. So that's just, you know, something to think about. Wonder Tape is really nice because it washes away. It can stay in there until you wash it. If you cannot wash whatever it is you are putting the Wonder Tape on, you can pull as much of it out as you can with a pair of tweezers, and then use a damp paper towel and a steam iron to steam it out. That way you don't have to immerse the object in water. Anyway, thank you so much for watching today. We could not, you know, I can't control the weather. The weather just does what it wants to do. But anyway, thank you so much again for watching today, and hopefully next month in February we'll be able to have in-person club. So anyway, the walking foot is the presser foot of the month, and you know, it is one of our more expensive attachments, so maybe if you don't have one, this is the time, because they are 25% off. Brings it from, at the time of this video being recorded, something around $219 to something around $164. So it's something to consider. Anyway, stay safe and warm, and we will see you later. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.